Hello, everybody. And hello, those of you who are new to this community. Equally, hello to those of you who've been walking this path for many years and all of you in between those two extremes. You know, when I began this path, there was not the technology that there is today. And I remember being quite startled when I actually met in the flesh another vegan, because in those days it was a very uncommon thing. We didn't have the ability to communicate with each other through these electrical magicians as we do now. And I see in my lifetime the whole world opening up with possibilities because of the ability to connect with others with like minds. I feel really privileged to have the opportunity of sharing the next few minutes with you during this extremely poignant time in history. I'm aware that there are those of you who are probably suffering greatly at this time due to the pandemic and other issues going on in the world. And my heart goes out to you, it truly does. Life is such a helter-skelter, such a mountains and valleys existence, and for sure, the current things that are going on in our lifetime have many pitfalls for us all. But please know that my thoughts and my heart are with you. And congratulations for coming here and joining in this group today, despite your suffering, despite your grieving over lost ones and other troubles you have in your life. Please give yourself just a few minutes here to separate yourself from your distresses, to cast aside the problems that you've been faced with, and just take a moment to focus on something which I truly hope from my heart is going to be uplifting for you, something that gives you a positive viewpoint of the situation. With this global pandemic, the political disquiet in the USA, Brexit, and the peaking of the environmental crisis, a perfect storm has been created. Despite its obvious challenges, you know, of leadership incongruence, mass polarity, I mean, those who are paranoid about this COVID and those who are really taking a very blasé approach, the progressive social fracturing of our society. Despite all of this, this is also a time burgeoning with creative opportunities, constructive possibilities, and massive healing potential. It's as if somebody has taken our planet Earth and placed it within a giant snow globe and given it a good shake. And now we're waiting for all the pieces to settle to see what picture we're left with, what we have left, what's being created, and how we can find our way forward. Now, swirling in that blizzard of fear and confusion, both old and new, unhealthy psychological and social infrastructures are emerging, but also there are wonderful new possibilities. For example, alongside the violent journalism on magazine stands as vegan periodicals stand right there next to them, we see this polarity. There is both the old and the unhealthy and the new and brilliant. We see people acting in selfish ways through fear and anger as they cope with this pandemic and other issues, whilst others we suddenly find they found their foothold in truly serving the community in a selfless way. All things are possible at this time, and it truly is the greatest opportunity for radical positive change that's ever existed in my lifetime. The fact that you have chosen to investigate or practice a raw plant-based diet and participate in this event is evidence that you have an openness of mind to consider uncommon perspectives. The common perspective, of course, is a kaleidoscope of anger and fear at the moment. But there's another perspective. Of course, there are many, but the one that I'm referring to is one of hope. For hope is the most precious human quality that we can ever have during such times. The other being intent. Within the raw plant-based community, there are distinct glimpses appearing of what is possible, what can be made manifest, as the concept of us all being global siblings takes root. The vegan message is finally starting to infiltrate into the darkness. People are reaching out, searching for a hand up. I see it all over the place as I go about my day. Yes, so many people are living in fear, but so many are also seeing it as a time for personal change. And as a result of that personal change, improvement for the greater good. It's now time, it's such a peak opportunity for all of us in the plant-based community to seize the moment, to bring forth the message of compassion that we carry in our hearts. Now, I'm often asked, what does it take to remain on this path? And my reply is that the stronger the building blocks of your aspirations, the firmer will be your resolve. Now, for example, if your aspiration is exclusively personal, to reduce your own, you've only got one single building block, and your resolve may easily be railroaded by mainstream manipulation. Now, if your aspiration is exclusively to help reduce the suffering of others, or to educate others as to the ways of the plant vegan community, you have but one building block and your resolve may easily be eroded. You might be a person whose aspiration is exclusively to reduce animal suffering. Again, you have but one building block and your resolve can quickly become despondent. Those amongst us whose aspirations is to exclusively protect our planetary environment. But again, they only have one building block and their resolve may soon grow very weary. However, if you aspire to all of those things, all of them, caring about yourself, caring about your loved ones, caring about strangers, caring about the animals, caring about the environment, all of those things, then you will have solid steel girders of blocks that will never crumble and never tire. Now, this is the path of the leader. You may be thinking as part of this community that you're looking up to leaders to see the way forward, to get guidance, to get direction. But I've a little news for you, my darlings. If you're involved in this community, you are a leader. And that's the end of it, because you have an heightened awareness, you have a broader vision, you have grateful insightfulness into the potential of what can be as opposed to what is. You are choosing to walk a different path. You're choosing to, as the expression says, think outside the box. You're relying on your own intelligence and above all, I'm sure, relying on your intuition and what your heart is telling you. This takes you out of the arena of being a follower. This takes you out of becoming a sheep in the flock, and it puts you at the forefront of leadership. So by being involved in this community, what we have and what we're surrounded by is our fellow leaders, all of us. Those who can see the divinity and compassion hold a very privileged position by virtue of that awareness, a position that holds within it an ineffable power to transform human intent on a mass scale. In order for compassion to become manifest, it must be overtly transformed from the simple and, let's say, limiting confines of just verbalized ethics and personal application. It has to be changed into the dynamic and far-reaching pandemic of a global awakening. So let's change our view of what this pandemic is about. This is about opportunity, about a chance for the awakened to share what they see. And this is a chance for others to become awakened. Because the way forwards is a shift in human consciousness, in mass human consciousness towards one whereby the idea that we are global siblings becomes the forefront of our thoughts. Loving kindness and compassion becomes the driving force behind everything that we do. And within that is the greatest power of earthly existence. Big action requires big change. There is no change without change. There is no radical change without radical change. We can no longer hide behind our need to bargain with approval and social acceptance of others. Our diet and our lifestyle is but a very surface piece of evidence as to who we are and what is going on deeper inside of us. It is but the mildest, the shallowest of evidence as to who we are becoming, because that choice carries within it the portal that allows us to step forward into a heightened vibration of humanity. We can no longer afford to walk with one foot in the path of our compassion and the other foot in this path of silent endorsement, because silence in the face of violence is endorsement. When we come to the end of our lives, having lived during these times, how triumphantly we pass depends on what we do now, what our next step is. What is the next step we take? Will we continue to allow fear of being ostracized socially dictate our daily modes of being? Or will we find united courage to truly heal this world with the love that is growing within us and burgeoning into such a beautiful thing? Will we awaken each day with the intent to overtly and boldly demonstrate love and compassion for all sentient beings, human and animal, regardless of their pugnacious or crude conduct? Will we open our eyes wide enough to see the isolated pain and suffering behind the vile coping mechanisms of so many impoverished humans? Will we find it in our hearts to forgive them? So often people say to me, how do we forgive? That's a question I used to ask myself many times. And I was always somewhat challenged, to be honest, with the answer that I should give myself. And then one day, my dear daughter looked up at me. She said, "Mummy, how do you forgive?" And I knew then I had to come to a decision pretty quickly. I had to dip into the depths of my wisdom and try and come up with something that would really serve her. And in doing so, I discovered this, that the opposite to forgiveness is revenge. When someone has harmed us or harmed someone we care for, or harmed the planet, or harmed an animal, or harmed anything for which we want to stand up for, it is easy to feel resentful. And that resentful carries with it a secret vision that we hold inside of us, hoping that in some way that person will suffer for what they have done. Holding on to that vision inside of us poisons us. The opposite to revenge is forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is holding inside our hearts and in our vision the love and compassion it takes to wish that person well, that they grow and evolve spiritually, that they develop, that they eventually see the errors of their ways and turn to a more graceful way of being, that they learn from their experience and spiritually evolve to join everybody else who lives on this planet as we attempt to ascend to a higher level of vibration. This is forgiveness. This is what we need to do to our so-called enemies, is to hold them in a vision of them evolving in the absolute best way, not just for them, but the entirety of human existence. Will we dare to fully allow the healing power of our love to flow through us and contribute our daily drop of love tonic into this collective ocean of potential benevolence? Can we as individuals in this community absorb the idea that our lives must amount more than just the shallow depths of survival and pleasure, and step forward as volunteers who know the potential of the transformative power of compassion that sleeps within us, just waiting to be awakened. We can counteract this perfect storm with the perfect storm. As individuals, we can start to send concentric ripples of light, but together, united, that light can negate the global darkness. Today is not just another day, it's another chance. Tomorrow is not just another day, it's another chance. Love is the ultimate human power. And you, individually, and within this plant-based, vegan, compassionate community, you have the ability to be an instrument for that power. You are in this community, you are joining us here today for this talk because you are a leader or have the potential to be a leader. It is up to you whether you embrace that great honor. As a person of uncommon awareness, you can rise to honor your allocated role as a leader, or you can shrink back into the oblivion of your daily apathy. The choice is yours. But the masses are looking for a way forwards. They are at an intersection. We, humanity, are at an intersection consisting of many roads, most of which lead to either total destruction or a future of hell on earth. But there are other roads, the less trodden path, the path that's a little harder to find your way down, but once traversed repeatedly, becomes a motorway. This is not an opportunity to stay integrated with the majority while meekly voicing our disapproval of violence. This is not a time to collectively become a person who simply listens and watches, a person who easily gets sucked into and drawn into the fear and anxiety of others. This is an opportunity to collectively become a bold and highly visible snowball of light and globally systemic compassion, resulting in final world peace and healing. This may sound a grand vision, a grand statement, but it's truly what I believe to be the case. This is literally a turning point in humanity, with so many different factors converging to create this storm, to shake this snow globe. As we wait to see what flakes fall in that snow globe, let us be part of forming the result and not leave it to fate. This is an opportunity to stand separate in order to bring an end to all separation. We must grasp today and share this vision. We have to become the mycelium that spreads the message, causing the mushrooming of authentic benevolence across the world. We have to, for our children's sake and our children's children's sake, and every sentient creature that walks this earth. We have to become the proactive disciples of loving kindness and compassion. Either that, or we can just live today as any other and await the outcome of our abdication of responsibility. I vote that together we choose to become the phoenix arising from the ashes of impoverished humanity and form a united voice that permeates the ears of those deaf with selfishness, greed, violence, and septic separation. I vote that we wake up and that we're not yet awake ourselves until we take up the reins of our privileged vegan perspective and become imminently more visible. You might be feeling inspired, but you might be not knowing how to do this. How do you go out there? How do you make change? How do you become a sculptor of those snowflakes as they land in the snow globe? Well, here is a little advice for you from my heart. Aspire not to greatness, but to making a great difference. Learn to recognize when your ego is driving your intent and take back the wheel with your highest and most graceful aspirations. Our ego is a necessary part of our human existence, but it's something that we need to govern and moderate and not allow to govern us and dictate our every word and action. Live your raw plant-based lifestyle choices boldly and openly. Let them be seen as evidence of your ethical and moral perspectives. Let them be your teachings. Please do not live your lifestyle as a type of apology. When someone invites you to dine at their home, which of course they probably wouldn't at the moment, but when they discuss your diet, to discuss your lifestyle, please don't try and make excuses for why you're following this. I see this again and again, and it's so sad. For this is something to be so proud of, because as I've said, not only does it show the beginning glimpses of who you really are inside and where you're going, but it's inspiring to others if you allow it to be so. Exchange negative judgments of others, human and animal, for compassion, for their suffering. Beneath their words and actions, swap the two over. Swap judgment for compassion. Behind all aggressive, violent, defensive, obnoxious, rude voices, words, and actions lies pain and unmet needs, or fear, or all of those things, either in animals or humans. Animals and humans alike live in a way by which they do whatever they can according to their knowledge, awareness, wisdom, experience, and inner resources to cope with that situation in that moment. They may be unpleasant, objectionable, horrific even. But I believe that that is coming from a place of a person being impoverished, lost, lacking, disconnected, in pain, troubled, suffering. Find compassion rather than judgment, for that is the way forwards through all of these issues that are bringing about this perfect storm. Replace interfering with the choices that others make with their lifestyle by living your lifestyle in their presence and living it without apology, living it boldly, living it with pride. Teaching this lifestyle is not something that you want to do where teachings are not welcome. Teach only this lifestyle where you are invited to teach, be it an individual or a group or a gathering. If individuals challenge you with what you're doing, it's possible that they might be interested in what you're doing and possible that they may be considering making changes themselves. But also bear in mind, when someone is a follower, they are reliant for their existence on being part of a group, fitting in with that group, being congruent with that group. And if that group starts to break apart, they lose their identity and they lose their security. If they see you as part of their group, and yet you're doing something radically different from the rest of their group, you are a threat to them. You're a threat to their feeling of belonging, security, of roots, of knowing who they are. Therefore, they're liable to attack what you're doing in order to force you to change your mind and come back to the fold, back to the group of followers. When these sorts of people attack you and challenge you and ridicule you for the choices in your diet and lifestyle, remember they do it essentially from fear. And so offer in return love and compassion. Offer in return reassurance that you can connect on other issues, and it is more serving mutually to connect on other issues that you have in common, instead of trying to cause friction by connecting in amongst issues that you differ in. Shift your focus from convincing others to change their way and place your focus on ensuring you're finding your own way. Remember that if you get into conflicts in your day, at the end of your day, regardless of what the conflict was about, how severe it was, or how close you were to the people involved, ultimately the pain that you feel, or the peace that you feel as you go to sleep that night, is not a result of how those other people have treated or spoken to you. The pain or the peace that you feel as you go to sleep that night is a result of how you have conducted yourself in that situation. It's always about the self. Let loving kindness and compassion radiate and permeate every word and every action you make. Are you going to manage this every second of every day? Heck no. Were you able to do that, you would be in the realms of the angels or another such realm. You wouldn't be having a human experience. Cut yourself some slack. The intent is what counts. And awareness and noticing is what counts. If you're aware, if you notice, oh dear, I was rude. Oh dear, I instilled fear into somebody. Oh dear, I was discompassionate, inconsiderate. Do not put that mistake in a big black bag, throw it over your shoulder and lug it along for the rest of your life. Take the lesson, take the reminder, give thanks to it and move forwards. Understand that you can't heal the world alone. Yet at the same time, please understand the world cannot be healed without your participation in that healing. And that means you as an individual. You are alive at this time for many reasons. And most of those reasons are too magical, mystical, and secretive for us to know what they are. But it is vital that you are here at this time. And it is vital that you love and honor yourself and you forgive yourself. For it's no good running around loving and honoring and being compassionate to others if you're berating yourself, resenting yourself, and not giving yourself sufficient applause and sufficient appreciation for your achievements and what you do manage to do in accordance with your intentions, which for many of us is less than 50% of the time. Be kind to yourself, and from that self-compassion, you will be able to produce a fountain of compassion for others. Connect with others and share the same aspirations that you have. Share your graceful intent, but do it not through lectures, although perhaps I should be saying that to myself right now, but do that through your actions. Do that through the way that you connect with others and how you treat them, be them human, animal, or otherwise. I have a vision that I have held for many, many years. And I feel most excited at this time in history because it feels to me like the time is ripe that maybe I can plant the seeds of my vision. And so today is a very special day for me, and sharing what I'm sharing with you is a very special moment for me, because I want to share with you this vision that I've held in my heart for many years. I have a vision that instead of simply the people who are involved in animal rights, bless them, fighting for those animal rights, working for those animal rights, expressing to as many people as they can the importance of change for reasons of animal rights. Instead of them just doing that, or instead of just people who are trying to fund human charities for other humans, for children in need, for the starving in places of the world where food isn't available, to rescuing people from droughts and poverty. Instead of them just doing that, or people who are out there caring about the environment, people who are aware of the terrible crisis we have with climate change and doing all they can to work with that and putting love and compassion into that. Those who are focused on helping other people in their local community. Those who are focused exclusively on trying to help themselves so that they can be a better living example of human potential. Instead of all of those individuals working on those individual things, that every one of those individuals changes their aspiration to focus on all of those things. And so the animal rights activist becomes equally concerned for the environment, the people without water in the world, the people starving, the children being abused, the climate change. Everybody. The environmentalists become concerned about the animals as well as their next door neighbor. And everyone who has awakened to their innate compassion finds an ability to embrace everything. Because there's something that is a continual bother to me in my life. And that is a question that keeps coming up to me. That is a challenge I face every day. Is it that nothing really matters? Or is it that everything really matters? And I've come to learn at the end of every single one of my days, I go to sleep at night convinced that everything matters. That is a grand take on for an individual. And as individuals, we shouldn't have to bear the burden of such responsibility, to feel we're responsible for caring for everything. It is when we come together in unity, that is when we have the power, because the compassion and the love and the kindness of united humanity is so far above and beyond that which resides in one individual, or even in the collected individuals of the world. It is greater than the sum of its parts, in other words. And so I have a vision. I have a vision of it all coming together. And I have adopted the name Karuna because in Sanskrit, a language which most cultures would be willing to embrace, in Sanskrit, Karuna means compassion. And so the Karuna unity to me is a uniting of humanity in compassion, to stay connected and remind each other of our joint mission. So I encourage you to fuel your inspiration daily in whatever form it works best for you. It could be prayer, it could be song, it could be dance, it could be art, it could be reading, meditating, connecting with others, and each day will become a living prayer of global healing. The issue currently, in essence, according to my view of the world, is not the pandemic. Neither is it the political unrest in the USA. Neither is it Brexit. Neither is it the environmental crisis. The real issue is the quality of the collective human intent, as it is from that which all of those other issues arise. Technology has advanced faster than the ascension of the human spirit. This has resulted in humans losing their navigation. The media has progressively become the faceless dictator, driving democracy into the realms of the archive. Our own technological progress has become the tormentor and catalyst of our social, ethical, and moral downfall. I vote that we rise to this opportunity today. Today, now, this evening, this morning, whatever time it is for you in your part of the world. For me here now, it's the early evening. It doesn't matter if it's your last breath before you go to sleep at night. But let's rise to this opportunity in unity by joining together. What an incredible opportunity we have, and what a wonderful platform has been provided us here through Woodstock. What a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us to connect in community, in compassion, to share a vision, to share what's in our hearts, and to go out there and live the truth of our chosen diet and lifestyle. And more to the point, what all lies under that diet and lifestyle. An awareness, a different perspective, a vision of a greater possibility for humanity. a vision of supreme levels of health, not just in terms of physical health, but mental health, spiritual health, environmental health, societal health. Once you step through that doorway, once you step through that opening that is provided through this diet and lifestyle, and you start to connect with others, and the energy flows between the hearts of all those in this community, we start to make a new worldwide web. It is not the one that you go onto when you open your computer. That is pure technology. And within that, there is all aspects of humanity that are both old and outworn, as well as those that are new and upcoming. This is a worldwide web of kindness, love, and compassion. And that web can grow, it can thicken, it can extend, and as I say, like mycelium spreading silently under the ground, burgeon into the most wonderful results of transformation for humanity that you can imagine. This world and every sentient being we share with it. So please, at least consider this humble offering that I bring to you today. It's an authentic sharing from my heart. I feel deeply emotional as I talk about this subject with you. And I feel very honored, deeply honored, that you should choose to share these few minutes of what is such a precious life, listening to me and my thoughts. I would like to leave you with knowledge that although I may not know you personally, although I may not be looking at your beautiful face directly, please know that I hold a vision for you personally to find joy in your life, real joy, the sort of joy that comes from living 100% authentically. And authentically means living your life in accordance with what is in your heart, not living your life in accordance with social expectations. I hold a vision of you experiencing the highest levels of health, for I know the more you invest your heart and soul in what you believe to be love, kindness, and compassion, the degree to which you do that, the divine will provide for you every step of the way. I send you my love. I send you my compassion. I wish I could hug you personally, but let us all join together. Let us seize this opportunity of this perfect storm. Let's create a new worldwide web of loving compassion and kindness and counteract this perfect storm that could head to a terrible destination and turn it into the most wonderful thing that has ever existed on planet Earth. Thank you so much for spending this time and allowing me to share what's in my heart and share it with your heart. Thank you, everyone.